Unexpected Journey, Memoir of a Siberian Deportee by Juzė Avižienytė-Žukauskiene. Translated from Lithuanian and narrated by Giedrė Kumpikas, niece of the author, and by Isabelle Kumpikas, the sister of the author. Chapter 44, Surprise. I do not know whether it was the fault of those appropriated 3,600 rubles or something else, but the director's favorites began to agitate against us even more. However, the regional authorities evaluated us differently. I received from the Novosibirsk main office an authorization with the broadest rights and the order to take over the station. In other words, I was appointed director. Everyone was astir. The sympathizers rejoiced. The enemies became worried, sullen, while I felt as if snow had fallen on my head. I was not at all happy about it. I was a laboratory assistant. I was a warehouse keeper when the permanent one was on vacation. I am a bookkeeper, but only temporarily, and now a director. I really did not want all the cares of a director, but most of all, I did not relish the regional superiors' meetings, which all the people with leadership positions had to attend. At these meetings, they always found a way to reproach everyone with some misdoing, and it was always discussed. I was also afraid of the plans which had not been carried out in the spring, when it would be necessary to order the boats, to load them in time so that there would be no delay for which we could receive a large financial fine. The director would have to pay a part of it, since the greatest responsibility was his. Besides, we were waiting for the end of the war. A normal worker would find it easier to leave his job than a responsible official. I discussed it with my family and decided to go to the regional center and, receiving the approval there, to send a statement to the Novosibirsk office that they withdraw my authorization and that I refuse the director's duties. I went to see the commandant and explained the situation. Why do you not want to accept the confidence extended to you? You will certainly be able to manage the station better than Permiakov. There are many reasons. I have no experience. I don't know the Soviet laws at all. And as you see, the authorization is broad. To receive and dispatch freight at railroad stations and loading docks, sign documents to take care of all banking and financial operations, to sign checks, to hire and fire workers, and so on. But most important, I'm a deportee. You yourself will not allow me to go to Novosibirsk, where I would have to go shortly. Not only that, Novosibirsk is 1,000 kilometers away, but even within the boundaries of the region, I must ask your permission. Give me at least some man. I agree to work, but let there be at least some official hat. My head I'll lend you. Yes, about those trips there might be some difficulties, of course, not from our side. We cannot keep Permiakov any longer. The head office let him go according to the recommendation of the prosecutor. He's being drafted into the army. In one way or another, you'll have to take over the station and without delay. We'll try to find you a hat later, laughed the commandant. Upon returning to the station, I announced that I was definitely ordered to take over. Permiakov was furious. Well, so then, take over. Here, sign. He had already signed the act of transfer, on which were written down the inventory and a list of other valuables. How can I sign? I must check everything, I answered calmly. What is there to check? Only the horse and the stamp are at my disposal, and everything else belongs to the others' accounts. Permiakov was angry. I began to read the act he gave me. 1. Horse. 1. Number 2. Carts. 2. Number 3. Sets of harness. 2. And so on. Ivan Fyodorovich, so where are those 2 carts? We only have 1, and with only 3 wheels at that. As for the harness, we only have 1 set, not 2. You're all very literate. You're all very smart. 1 cart you'll pick up from Zakotskot, while the harness and 1 wheel from Zakotsern. The director borrowed it. The irritated Permyakov was almost screaming. I continued speaking calmly. Ivan Fedorovich, you are getting upset needlessly. I did not apply for your position, and I don't want to be the director at all. If you find my literacy terrifying, submit another candidate, someone less literate. But you must understand that I cannot sign and accept what is not there. What do you mean isn't there? I'm telling you, you'll get everything bad from Zakotsan and Zagotskot. Permyakov was yelling and turning red. Don't be angry. You won't accomplish anything with anger. Give me their statements that they owe us these things and everything will be in order. I have no written statements and I won't give you any. All right, I'll go to those people who owe these things and they'll say to me, I don't know you, I've never seen you before, and I borrowed nothing from you. So, Ivan Fyodorovich, we'll draw up a statement not like this one, but one which corresponds to accounting books, and in the second column we'll put what really exists. And if anything is missing, you'll give me statements of accountability. Oh, you're clever, clever. He furiously threw the stamp on the table. Here, take it. That's my whole station. What there is, you'll find without me. And he walked out the door. Back again, I went to the regional office. I had to take over the station, only without Permyakov, but rather with a commission. The favorites toned down, became polite. Apparently, they were afraid that I would seek revenge for all their dirty tricks, or that I would fire them. But I did not exercise my director's power. I would wait for the hat. After a few months, they sent me a hat, an almost illiterate Tatar, newly appointed, not yet approved by the office, and not yet possessing the authorization of a director. He immediately called a production meeting. This was very important in the Soviet Union. Friends, I am strict. I require order and discipline. The beginning is not bad. We all glanced at each other. Where was that order and who was undisciplined? The director felt secure, proud, although his appearance was far from heroic. His 100-seam quilted cotton-filled jacket had worn out sleeves. His hair was disheveled. Perhaps it had never seen a comb. Black like a Negro's, curled long, his fingernails black, and so on. He continued, The Bakar region has invited us to a socialist competition. They have promised to grow 600 kilograms of tobacco per hectare. And I say that we can grow 1,000 kilograms per hectare. We must make an effort. We were all silent because no one had any idea how much tobacco could be grown on 1 hectare. They were ready to raise their hands for. I stood up. Before accepting such a promise, one must think a little. I have already grown tobacco here in Siberia, in Komarovka. Besides, I was a bookkeeper, and I know how many hectares each collective farm was growing and how much they delivered to the station. The maximum is 400 kilograms per hectare. So how can we prepare 1,000 kilograms per hectare when we don't even know how to grow tobacco? After all, the climate of Siberia is not favorable for tobacco. Throughout those 35 to 40 summer days without frost, the tobacco did not have sufficient time to grow enough leaves. He interrupted me. The Tatar raised his voice almost to a screech, because in the Soviet Union no one dared to oppose the superiors. And here, what insolence! He, a party member, an esteemed Bolshevik, was proposing something, and I, a deportee, dared to oppose him. What? Anti-government agitation? Do you want to ruin our determination to compete? We must try. I tried to say that this was not an agitation, but a realistic outlook at the possibilities. What will we say after we have promised to grow 1,000 kilograms, but will take in only 7 or 8? We will disappoint those who believed it to be possible. I was inexperienced. I was not familiar with the Soviet system. It seemed to me that it was very unethical to make such promises when you knew beforehand that you will not be able to carry them out. However, the director hat was an old Bolshevik and knew that it was necessary to urge people with big promises. If you don't fulfill them, there will be many reasons for self-justification. The hat was screeching again, that we must try with all our might, that we must compete, that we must not give in to the agitation of unsuitable elements. For such, we would find a suitable place, etc., etc. My frightened children looked at me while the former director's wife and favorites were chattering away enthusiastically as they supported the hat, and of course everyone voted for the proposal to grow 1,000 kilograms on 1 hectare. At home, my husband and my children again reproached me for getting involved in such matters. What do you need all this for? They're old Bolsheviks. They know their system. Let them do as they please. You'll just bring misfortune not only on yourself, but on your whole family. Yes, they were right. But I said that if this meeting had taken place after my authorization had been withdrawn, I would have kept quiet. However, I was still the official director, and I would have to sign the agreement. I could not sign such stupidities. If we don't fulfill it, I'll be responsible. If I don't sign, it's sabotage. Nevertheless, I did not sign, and the hat felt like a hero and willingly scribbled his name. We set up the salary sheets. We had to get money from the bank. On the check, 2 signatures were necessary, the bookkeeper's and the director's. I kept quiet. The hat signed. He went to the bank for the money. There they asked him, "Where is your authorization from the highest Novosibirsk office? We must verify your signature. It's sample, then you will be able to take the money. We consider the director to be Zukauskiene. Her authorization has not yet been revoked." The hat returned feeling defeated. What to do? Everyone was waiting for their pay, including our family. "Write out a check. I'll sign it." I went to the bank and got the money. I stopped at the commandant's office to ask them to take steps that Novosibirsk would withdraw my authorization sooner and would send the authorization to Agbulin. "So how is your new director?" asked the commandant. "Let me answer you with an anecdote I heard a long time ago," I said, smiling. Fine, tell me." A certain year to a certain district, the Tsar appointed a new governor. After a while, meeting a high-born landowner newly arrived from that district, the Tsar asked him, "So how is the new governor?" The landowner answered, "Your Highness, if you sent a fool, at least you could have sent a more intelligent one." I can say the same about our new director. The commandant started to laugh good-heartedly. "Fine, you told that very well, Zukauskiene. Hold on. After all, you asked only for a hat, and a head you have yourself. That hat does not fit on my head." All joking aside, life proved otherwise. As soon as Agbulin received his authorization, the favorites attached themselves to him, and in addition to them, the former director's wife. I saw that it would be very difficult to work, perhaps even impossible. As soon as my authorization had been withdrawn and Agbulin had received his, he immediately proved that he was the director. First, he ordered me to prepare the yearly balance for the year 1943 by January 1st, 1944. I prepared and put in order all the documents, but I could not complete the final statement without the National Bank Bulletin, which was sent to us only on January 5th. The hat was furious. He wanted to show his activeness, and here again his order was not carried out, and so he was only a party hat who knew nothing about bookkeeping. Tying up the documents into a bundle for which I asked him to sign, he was angry again. He threw them into a sled, taking with him a literate woman assistant, just in case, left for Novosibirsk. It sounded funny, but to reach Novosibirsk, 1,000 kilometers away, riding in a sled pulled by one wretched small horse over a Siberian taiga road through bitter, biting cold and snowstorms, this was not a joke. But there was no other means of transportation, only horses and oxen. At that time, there was no railroad yet between Tomsk and Novosibirsk. Tomsk was 300 kilometers away. At best, such a small horse who only got a handful of taiga hay, since the former director and his favorites had eaten the flour destined for it, could clop along about 30 kilometers in 24 hours. Of course, on those occasions when there is no closer settlement, they would have to struggle over an even longer stretch of road. We workers who were left behind had to twine ropes to tie together the pressed tobacco and to prepare wood not only for the winter but also for the summer, to prepare lumber for summer construction. Besides, an order came from Novosibirsk to prepare from the best tobacco leaves papushas, that is, to lay flat and press down leaves into half-kilogram packs. Tobacco was necessary for the army. There were no accommodations or fixtures. We had to pick out unbroken leaves, smooth them out, tie them together, and press them down with whatever we had. The norm was 25 pushas. It did not seem like a lot, but the inexperienced workers could not fulfill even these norms. We had to pick leaves out of a disorderly heap in the warehouse. With gloves, we couldn't accomplish much, but it was impossible to work with bare hands in minus 40 to 45 degrees centigrade. Therefore, we brought large loads of tobacco into the barracks. There we chose the suitable leaves, we spread them out on top of each other, we tied their stems with a string, pressed down the leaves, and took the rejects back again to the warehouse. Those bundles did not come out very pretty. Stasukas invented a press. Then we no longer had to smooth out the leaves. Instead of 25 bundles, we pressed out about 72 to 75.